Well, here we are again, having to talk about Alyssa Mercante, one of everyone's favorite anti-gamer propagandists masquerading as a journalist for the outlet known as Craptaku, really called Kotaku, but I prefer the name Craptaku, don't you? So Alyssa has always insisted that she does not view the videos or live streams of her haters because, they're harassing her. But of course, Hypnotic, who you may know, does his Saturday Night Hypnosis as well as live streams on other days, where he insists that she's always watching because she seems to respond to stuff they talk about in videos and live streams she does later on. I'm Fox, and this is RealMarcFoxx, your home for rational, reasonable, real gamers. Let's roll that intro.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Well, in a recent live stream that Hypnotic did, along with many guests, Alyssa decided to show up and brag about raising $20,000 during her live stream for a charity known as Trans Lifeline. Raising money for a charity always sounds good until you look a little bit deeper. We all recall the Black Lives Matter scandal. That was a complete fraud charity that spent almost no money on actual causes it purported to represent, but instead spent most of its money buying lavish vehicles and mansions for the leaders of the group and their families. We also know from all of the data that the deeper somebody goes into the trans mentality, the more likely they are to commit, self-deletion, if you know what I'm trying to say. That means that any organization encouraging someone to go deeper into this lifestyle is only encouraging them closer and closer to the eventual end of their existence on planet Earth. But that's not the only issue, because we've discovered a few things thanks to the work of SmashJT over at his website and channel, SmashJT. Check him out. It appears, based on the financials, that this group does very little to actually help anybody, having a very limited lifeline that you can call into, which is only open for 8 hours a day and not even on weekends. It doesn't even appear that there's any official licensing or training for these people. They're just looking for volunteers to talk. Two of the people heading up the organization make well over $140,000 a year, with 5 of the employees making over $500,000. And the expenses of this so-called charity appear on paper to exceed their donations. So the question becomes, where are they getting all this money? They claim to be a legitimate 501c3, but they don't appear to be operating under those rules. And just before I decided to record this video, something else came to light. So let me go ahead and pull it up for all of you so you can find out what I just discovered. Officially from Trans Lifeline, this has just come out. Earlier this year, the board launched an investigation into the financial transactions of Nina and Greta and concluded, with the advice of legal and financial professionals, that there had been significant spending of Trans Lifeline funds outside the scope of the current budget. Interesting phrasing. Much of this spending was on an unauthorized project neither approved of by the board nor made clear to donors, which Greta and Nina sincerely believed was for the good of the trans community. I'm sure they did. Unfortunately, their unauthorized project ran afoul of Trans Lifeline's obligations to the 501c3 tax laws. That's an interesting way to say that they committed
tax fraud
using a charity on personal expenditures. I think that's what we all know happened right there. On the website it says, no matter what happens, we're here. Yeah, unless you need help outside their 8 hours Monday through Friday, any other time, including all of the weekend, they're completely unavailable. They also claim that they don't conduct non-consensual active rescue, such as calling 911, emergency services, or law enforcement. They have a California address listed, and California does have some mandatory reporting laws. So depending on how these people are classified in what is discussed, they may have an obligation by law to report to police, which they say they don't. And in particular, if the person is a minor and expresses any abuse, neglect, or ideation to remove themselves from the planet, They are mandated by California law to do so. However, they take volunteers from all over the country and Canada. So that means that wherever the volunteer is residing at the time of the phone call, that volunteer is obligated by the mandatory reporting laws of that state. Some states carry a penalty of up to 6 months or even a year for the misdemeanor crime of failing to report, as well as fines exceeding $1,000. It is literally a crime for them to not report if the circumstances match the mandatory reporting laws of that state. It's a criminal code. Now, it's possible they may try to skirt this law by saying that their volunteers are not professionals, counselors, psychiatrists, or any such thing, but at the same time, some states mandate that anybody must report any knowledge of the abuse of a child, which can include self-abuse. However, this group uses the propaganda that the police are the enemy. Now, granted, the police are not always your friends. Police are people, and people do make mistakes. Some people are bad, some people are good, and some people are a combination thereof. The police are not always good, they're not always bad, but trying to portray them as the enemy is not helpful, because when you encourage people to try to fight the police, whether they're right or wrong in doing so, you're encouraging violence that begets more violence. And in most cases, when people try to fight the police,
they usually don't win.
So if your loved one were to call this lifeline during the only 8 hours they're open Monday through Friday and express their intent to harm themselves, then hang up the phone, they'll do nothing. They won't call anybody. They won't contact the authorities. They'll do nothing. They'll allow your loved one to go through with their threat with no assistance from them whatsoever. I think this so-called charity needs to be investigated, and I even wrote this segment before I realized that they already admitted they're committing tax fraud. I think it's amazing that they're trying to get ahead of this by simply saying, look,
y'all don't need to investigate. We're committing tax fraud. We're in the wrong. We're sorry.
So once again, Alyssa's out here trying to brag and virtue signal, which I call villainy signal, about how great she is for raising money for a charity for the trans.
But guess what?
This charity's a scam, and it will only lead people astray. Thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, but don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and tap that notification bell icon. And a huge thank you and shout out to Super Real Gamer Drunken Dwarf and Real Gamer Cornelius Noland. And consider joining the channel. It's as cheap as $1.99, and you get to enjoy all these special perks. Click join now. And if you want to support my channel in another way, consider picking up my novel, New Tokyo. It's available on Amazon in Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and paperback formats. Link in the description. And, as always, my friends, for Fox's sake, stay real, keep playing, and never forget, yesterday's tomorrow is today's today.
Thing sucks!
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people. And maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be
Yeah.
and hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically.
Anyone taking you up on that yet?
No, 'cause they're all
Yep.